Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial on This Time by Earl Klugh. First, the usual stuff. The full lesson is split up into several parts and only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, you can check out my website or my Patreon page. Both offer different perks at different pricing points, so there should be something for everyone. If you want the tab annotation file, then do head over to the website, look up the song and click on the music notes icon. That way you'll get a 20% discount. No account or login is necessary to do this. So I picked today's song for two reasons. The first one is because this recording passes me by on Instagram regularly and I always stick around to listen all the way to the end. And the second reason is that I've been looking for an excuse to finally use my new Furch nylon string. Yes, this time is played on a nylon string, but I can assure you it sounds great on an acoustic as well. After hearing this live version from an 80s daytime Australian television show, I checked out the studio version as well, but I quickly decided to focus only on this live take because everything I like about the live version is different in the official version. The studio version is slower, it's quite long with extra solos in there, and it has some technical parts that break up the flow of the groove. I just like this one a lot more. Then just one more thing about the new guitar. I think it sounds great, but I'm still looking for the correct strings to put on this instrument. I put some fresh Diodario heavy tension strings on the guitar for this recording, and despite tuning constantly throughout the recording session, even focusing on different areas to tune to get a certain part to sound right, there are always a few spots where it is still somewhat off in terms of tuning. So I hope the end result is still acceptable and the video can serve its purpose. I tried fixing it with pitch correction software and it only made it much worse. Let's get started then. The guitar is in standard tuning. I'm using, as already mentioned, my new nylon string, but it's perfectly possible to play the song on an acoustic steel string as well. As a matter of fact, there is one run in the song where I'm going to include a second version that I know is going to sound better on an acoustic than on the nylon string itself. Apart from that, no capo, no thumb pick. The original is played with long fingernails. I'm going to use short fingernails, so the tone is going to be a bit warmer. That being said, I'm going to dive straight into the intro and let's have a look at what we're up against. Here we go. And after that you head straight into the verse. There aren't really any standard chord shapes in here, so I'm going to dive in and start explaining the picking pattern straight away. You do start with a part of an E chord, open E string, middle finger 2nd fret on the A string, and then the index finger 1st fret on the G string. You're hardly going to play the D string in this intro section, it's rarely used, and then 2 open strings on top. And then for the second chord shape, you're going to move up the index finger on the G string to the 2nd fret, and you're going to add the ring finger to the 4th fret on the A string, going from E to E6 sus4 or to an A chord with E in the bass. This chord shape could be either of those chords. You pluck low E string, A string, B string, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2nd fret, 4th fret, dropping down to 1st fret and 2nd fret again, and this rings out as you play the first bass note of the next bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Second bar again, open E string and then A string, together with an open E string on top to an open B string. And then again, same move in the chord section. And Then that E bass note is in front of the first beat, on the second part of the fourth beat, and this is going to happen each and every time you play this chord section. This is the part where you're going to see the most variations. The verse and the bridge are always the exact same thing, but in this part there are quite a few variations popping up. Each and every time, the third bar, the bass note is pulled forward by 1/8 note. So if I count along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So the bass note on the low E string is in front of the beat. That third bar, 3, 4, 1, 2. Nothing too tricky. You have that bass note in front of the beat, so make sure you don't shift everything else up as well. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and just arpeggiating the chord after the open E string, A string, G string, open E string on top, and again that same move in the chord. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Again, that double stop, that sixth interval rings out, bass note, and then a reverse arpeggio, E string, B string, G string, low E string. Those 4 bars all the way through. Count along just once for that one sort of anticipated note in that third bar, that you get that exactly right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth beat is just empty. Next 4 bars, we drop down a bar across 5 strings from the A string to the high E string on the 2nd fret, and we're going to play the A string as a bass note. Again, we're going to skip the D string. We're going to focus completely with the picking pattern on the G string, B string, and high E string. This would be a part of a B dominant 9th chord, and we're going to add the pinky to the 4th fret on the G string and high E string in a moment, and then all of the melodies we're going to play on top are all going to be 6th intervals. It gives a very nice melodic effect. You start just with the bar by itself for the first 2 beats. 1, 2. So A string, G string, B string, E string at the same time. 1 and 2. So repicking the bass note and then those 3 strings at the same time again. And then you add the ring finger and the pinky to the 4th fret. 1, 2, 3, and that small rest, it's an 8th rest, it gives you the time to move up to the 7th fret for a small B triad, middle finger 8th fret on the G string, and then a small bar 7th fret on the B string and high E string. Now, in some versions he picks only the G string and high E string, in other versions he picks that whole triad. Just see what you like best. He also often just slides up to that 7th fret, 8th fret, like that. So in combination with the first 2 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So sliding up to the 7th fret, another rest, and then you drop the same chord shape down to the 5th fret. Again, 3 strings or just the outer strings, that is for you to choose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You switch over to a bar across 3 strings, D string, G string, B string on the 4th fret, and you're going to quickly hammer on the middle finger to the 5th fret, the pinky to the 6th fret, and the ring finger to the 6th fret as well. Middle finger on the B string, 5th fret, ring finger and pinky, 6th fret on the G string and D string. As an embellishment, really quickly, so hammer on, open E string, and then remove the fingers you put down for the hammer on and just open A string together with the bar on the 4th fret, D string, G string, and B string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. And that is just a bar of 2 in there, so it's a half a bar, and as soon as you land up on that open A string and that 4th fret, that is the first beat again. Another E bass string, open, and then repick A string, D string, G string, B string. We're going to add the previous chord again. Now we're just going to pick it at the same time, back to the bar, and drop down the bar 2 frets, all in 8th notes. 3, 4, 1, and another bass note on the first beat. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is Earl Klugh plays this with long fingernails, and then picking those triple strings is quite easy with the long fingernails. Doing this up to speed with short fingernails is a bit trickier, so I tend to replace one of those picked notes with another hammer-on. And that just makes it a little bit easier if you're playing with shorter fingernails. So if you have long fingernails, go ahead and just pick every single one of those chords. I have the impression that shorter fingernails do make this a little bit more tricky to get it up to speed. So that's just something that you can pick again. One more time, that bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And from that point, it's picking in between the beats. 1, 2, 3. On the 3rd beat, another bass note. You shift up the bar to the 4th fret again, and then an open E string to close that section down with. Those last 2 bars, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, to an open E string first on top and then down below. Those 4 bars all the way through with that half bar in the middle there. I'm going to count along to make sure that you have that one switch in time signature there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and ending back up on an open E string. After that, you're just going to repeat the first 4 bars again, exactly the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, with the same shifted bass note in the 3rd bar, and the exact same ending. That was the full intro. Let me play again through the whole thing one more time. Just 12 bars, first 4 and the last 4 bars, exactly the same thing. Maybe already a bit more up to speed. And then we're ready to dive straight into the first verse. Just let's have a look at what that sounds like. Here we go. And we end with the same vamp section, but already with a slight variation on it. Let's see what the verse looks like. You start with the pinky on the 12th fret and a bar across 3 strings, D string, G string, B string, on the 9th fret this time. This is just a full E chord way high up the neck. You pick the low E string and the high E string at the same time, and then D string, G string, back to the high E string. 1, 2, 3, hammering on. And this is tricky because of that bar. You're going to extend the bar to the high E string as well. And you're going to hammer on with the ring finger from the 9th fret to the 11th fret on the G string, and with the pinky at the same time from the 9th fret to the 11th fret on the high E string. Just hammering on a full 6th interval. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now, you might want to go for the option of just keeping the bar where it is and not moving it all, trying to get that hammer on there, but including that D string while doing the hammer on is tricky for the left hand posture. So what I would recommend is just moving down the index finger only to the G string and high E string when you want to perform that hammer on. It's quite a bit easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you move back to the same B chord, 7th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret we already played before. A bass note down below, low E string, and another bass note as you pick the 7th fret on the B string this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now it's just all arpeggiating on that B chord shape. 1, 2, and hammering on. So you're holding down the chord shape, E string, B string at the same time, D string, G string, and then repick the D string as you hammer on with the pinky from the 7th fret to the 9th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the 4th beat, you just move the whole chord shape down 2 frets and you pick the G string and high E string at the same time again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So an open E string and then a second open E string together with the G string and E string as you move the chord down. Those first 2 bars back to back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 3rd bar is just holding down the chord shape, A added 9th, so small A chord shape with the pinky on top. And we're just arpeggiating, but you have to leave the 1st beat completely open. So the chord is on the 4th beat of the previous bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 1st beat is completely, it's not empty, the chord still rings out, but you're not doing anything. So make sure you start dead on the 2nd beat. Don't go rushing in. So 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 is just D string, G string, B string, D string, G string, high E string. That's all that happens, just holding down the chord shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Same hammer on we did before on the D string and the B string. Now we're going to just shift everything up to the G string and the high E string. Small bar on the 4th fret across 3 strings with the index finger, and you're going to hammer on with the middle finger to the 5th fret and the ring finger to the 6th fret as you play an open E bass string. To the bar, and then you're going to use the exact same fingering, 5th fret, 6th fret, middle finger, ring finger on the B string and the D string again. 1, 2, 3, index finger to the 4th fret on the low E string together with an open B string, another 8th rest, and then to an A major 7th chord. Open A string, middle finger 2nd fret D string, index finger 1st fret G string, ring finger 2nd fret on the B string. That rounds out the first 4 bars. Just that last bar by itself. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That is what happens in the last bar. Last 2 bars back to back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now those first 4 bars all the way through, you already know the entire verse. There's not that much left. major 7th chord. Just 2 bars left, you end up on that A major 7th chord in front of the first beat. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So chord rings out, D string, double stop, G string and B string, to the A string and to the low E string on the 3rd beat. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then a bar across all 6 strings. You start by picking 4th fret on the B string and adding the middle finger to the 5th fret. Then you pick a double stop, D string and G string, still holding down the bar. Bass note. Same run, up, 4th fret, 5th fret. You drop down the bar. Double stop now. Again, D string and G string on the 2nd fret, and another bass note. 4th fret on the B string to an open E string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, sorry, I'm just using that open E string. It's actually a 6th interval again, G string, 1st fret, and an open E string at the same time, because we're heading back in that same vamp section around the E chord. One thing to watch out for is that bass note in that last bar doesn't land on the beat, it's in between the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and that is by that point it lands on the beat again for the next few bars. So those last 2 bars back to back. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Then we end back up in that E section, and now we're going to play the first few variations. The variations are optional. If you like what you played in the intro, then you just stick to that and you don't have to look at a single one of these. But this is the only section where you can add a few different twists. Everything else is going to be the exact same thing. So we land on the low open E string. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just a big arpeggio, E string, A string, G string, high E string, and the same move in the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second bar is just a reverse arpeggio, E string, B string, G string, moving up. And again, that one bass note in front of the beat. Reverse arpeggio, bass note in front of the beat. And everything else is already stuff that you already know. So that was the full first verse. Let me play through this whole thing one more time, just with the standard camera view, and then we're going to play the repeat, the full repeat with the magnet on the guitar, so you can have a good look at the picking hand. So first, one more time, verse 1. Here we go. Was the full first verse. Now I'm going to add the magnet and play through verse 2, which is a full repeat, now the single change. That way you can have a good look at the picking hand. Now I do want to warn you, I am using a bit of a different picking pattern than Earl Klugh is using, because I'm a fingerstyle player, not a classical player, so I'm sort of inclined to use my thumb a little bit more than most classical players would. So if you're a purely classical player, please do look at the original video for a bit more reliable guidance on what fingers you should use to pick which strings. For the finger pickers here, this is going to feel pretty familiar if you follow what I'm doing. Here we go, one time through verse 2 with the magnet on the guitar. So that was verse 2. You can now play both the intro and both verses. It's time to wrap up this part of the tutorial. The only thing left to learn in part 2 is the bridge, because the ending is actually the exact same thing as the intro. For people watching on YouTube, now it's time to switch over to my Patreon page or my website. I'll see you there.